remaining of month one is an extension of week one and a transition period to move from onboarding to ongoing. In this chapter, we will explore what the remaining 3 weeks should focus on, how to give and receive feedback effectively to assess the new hires first deliverable well, and what the focus of the next step should be. You may remember that in the previous chapter, I mentioned that you should not overload your new hire with information, but rather space out information about your organization, product, and the role so that they can grasp it better. Well, the same goes with the team meetings. For the new hire to enjoy meeting members of your team and have authentic first interactions with them, you will need to give them the time to do so. This is why, if your team has more than 15 members, then it is better to space out those meetings over the entire first month and not just the first week. Make sure they meet those they will interact with the most frequently first. As your team grows, you can organize meetups with 2 colleagues at a time, but we do not recommend that because you will risk to lose the quality of interaction due to the high number of participants in the meetups. For these meetups, you want depth, not breadth. A good rule of thumb is 30 minutes for each meetup. Also encourage all the participants to make the first meetup more about the learning about the person rather than the role. At some point during the remaining 3 weeks, your new hire should submit their first deliverable to make sure they had their first win during their first month. The submission of the first deliverable is not only the first win, but probably your first opportunity to provide meaningful feedback to your new hire. To provide effective feedback for the first deliverable, I suggest you use the AID model, which stands for Action, Impact, and Desired Outcomes. The action part requires that you describe what you observed in the new hire's work or interactions. You need to focus on observable facts. A good example of an fact is not receiving the deliverable by the agreed upon deadline. Then you move to the second part, which is impact. For instance, receiving the deliverable late resulted in a delay in project submission and therefore increased project cost. Finally, desired outcome phase is about suggesting and exploring together solutions by asking the question, how can we tackle this better next time? During the remaining 3 weeks, you or your managers will also have the opportunity to receive feedback from the new hire on their onboarding process. While receiving feedback from your new hire, you should go through 3 steps. First, you need to join the feedback session with the mindset to listen, to understand, not to listen, to reply. You can achieve that by allocating enough time to the feedback session, take notes to capture the most valuable insights, and avoid interrupting the person. Also, remind yourself that the feedback is a great learning opportunity. Then make sure to ask clarifying questions during the conversation. Then set aside enough time to reflect on the feedback. There is no urgency to reply or address feedback on the spot. In fact, this can be counterproductive, especially if there were emotions involved during the feedback session. Finally, follow up and follow through on what you heard and learned. The best proof that you were present during the feedback session and that you value their insight is to follow up and act on the feedback. Here you go. After all the hard work you did for preparing the pre-boarding phase, day 1 and week 1, your new hire finally finished their first 30 days at your organization. End of month 1 is an excellent opportunity to stop, celebrate over coffee and maybe a sweet treat. Stopping will help mark end of month 1 as a major milestone for the new hire. By doing so, you are strengthening the feeling of belonging of your new hire. Also, end of month 1 is an excellent opportunity for shoutouts. You can highlight your new hire's first achievements, their strength, and how you value them as members of the team. Finally, end of month 1 is also an excellent opportunity to debrief with the new hire's body. They would have interacted with your new hire during the pre-boarding and first month of the onboarding phase, they probably will be able to highlight many of your new hire strengths, but also potential areas where they need more guidance, training, and support. The next step in your onboarding process is, in fact, to move from onboarding to ongoing. After completing their first deliverable and receiving feedback, your new hire is now ready to tackle a bigger challenge in line with your organization's needs and objectives. The first deliverable that your new hire submitted, your interactions with them, and the feedback you would have received from their body should all inform what training your new hire may need to set them up for success. This should be a priority focus for you to ensure an effective ramp up. Finally, once a month for the next 90 days, your HR or people operation team should either organize a feedback session or share a feedback form, such as the one you can download in this chapter, to continue collecting insights about their experience and contribution in your organization. When you continue to do so, you will ensure that you can remediate to any challenge during your new hire probation period if you have one. Congratulations! You now know what are some of the essential concepts and frameworks to design your own onboarding process and ensure you can ramp up effectively and fast your new hire during their first month in your organization. I invite you to download and use the different templates we provided you so that you can move ahead with designing your own onboarding process. Remember, concepts and frameworks that we gathered for you in this course can and should always be adapted to the reality of your organization and team. You use those concepts to inform your own design process and adapt them to meet your own need. Ultimately, no onboarding processes are perfectly alike. Every organization is unique in one way or another.